Ooh, boy, have I got something to talk about on today, y'all. And I'm telling you, I have been following this trial, this case since I heard about it. I just couldn't believe, you know, well, I could believe it, but some of y'all can't believe it because you haven't experienced it. And maybe perhaps if someone is telling you that something is going on with them, you just don't believe them. So we're going to be talking about Gisèle Pelicot and her case that's going on right now in South France. We're going to talk about her while I'm cooking something to eat. Okay? So, y'all, thanks for tuning in to Lovely J Podcast. I am Coco Bowden, or should I say Miss Coco Bowden. Thank you. And we're going to talk about this mass rape thing in just a few minutes. We'll talk about it as soon as I get really started into things. But y'all, it's been a short weekend, it seemed like. I'm cleaning out my pan here because I'm going to make some chicken patties. Let's see. Uh-oh. I think I had this on the wrong page, but tune in. Thanks for tuning in. Wherever you're listening from, I appreciate you. You're loved here. You're loved here. If you don't like my podcast, I still love you anyway. But I've been following this woman case, and it's really just, the more I follow this case, the more hope I get. And I don't think I'm stretching out on a long hand, because it just says what you do in the dark, eventually it's going to come to the light. And the one who brings it to the light ain't always going to be the one who you think. It's usually yourself that brings it to the light because you had no business doing it in the first place. But anyway, Gisèle Pelicot, that story, I can relate to that because so many times I try to tell people. There has been negative. Uh-oh. Hold up now. I didn't mean that to happen. Hold up. Y'all give me a second here. Let me make sure y'all still on here first. Okay. So this story, the reason why I'm saying I want to talk a lot about it today is because, I too have a similar situation where I say Me Too. Y'all know the Me Too movement, which got started a few years ago. Of women coming forward about, sexual explicit things that were happening to them. Now, this content is labeled explicit, okay? So, there may be some language used or terminology used that may not be as, nice, or, and at the same time I'm cooking. It may not be as clean as you would like for this podcast to be, because right now I just want to express a few things while I'm getting this stuff ready to cook. So I ran across this story on TikTok, right, one night. I was up in there and I was like really feeling sorry, feeling bad. Crying, just believing God that one day a situation like mine would come forward. And the worst thing in life is when people try to make it seem like you are so crazy. I mean, people people that know you aren't lying, but for the sake of the organizations that they're attached to, they're going to go along with the program. Which means if somebody is getting raped, they go along with the rape. They go along with it. They don't care. Because they have signed their rights, their life rights away to these organizations. We just got some mean, evil people out here. Uh-oh. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm trying to get these seasonings together. Yep. Okay, I got them. So as I'm on TikTok, I run across this story, and it says this woman had been raped mass times and didn't even know it. She didn't even know it, y'all, that she was being raped. All she knew is that she had to keep going to the doctor for urinary tract infections and, pains, pains that, she normally wouldn't have. Now she was having these pains. That's what sent her to the doctor's office in the hospital. And none of them found anything abnormal. They just give her some medicine, send her back home. That was it. Now, let me mind you, this woman at the time is around, if she's 70-something now, she would have had to be somewhere in her 60s. Which I will read a little bit of articles that I found on it. As soon as I finish mixing together this ground chicken. Y'all, we're making chicken patties. These chicken patties are made with ground chicken. Just a little onion powder, garlic powder, some black pepper, seasoning salt, and an egg as a binder. And we're going to put it in this skillet and fry. Now back to Gisèle. She starts having these uncalled for sicknesses, and she's going back and forth. These doctors, mind you, these doctors are just treating her for, urinary tract infection. That's all they're treating her for. It's nothing else, that they're saying going on. They're not even noticing the fact that this woman has been raped multiple times. What happens is, as I'm mixing this meat, the husband goes out, and he's out somewhere, and he starts videoing up women's dresses. He starts videoing up their dresses, and he gets caught doing it. So when they confiscate his phone, guess what they find? They find all these videos of men having sex with his wife. Guess what his wife was doing while they were having sex with her? Take a guess. Since y'all don't think this happens, people don't think you can get drugged and have sex multiple times and not know it. Well, turns out what happens is she's drugged. She doesn't know. She's knocked out. They're having sex with her while she's knocked out. Now, when I first saw that, I started crying. And I started screaming, yes, God, I know. I just started, thanking God, because what I have been saying for the last couple of years is that it's just unique to find somebody that's in the same situation that I'm in. When I said I was being trafficked, people laughed at me and they mocked at me and even put my name on this blacklist thing so that nobody would believe what I was saying. And the current events is still current. It's still going. There's the only thing I can hope is that somebody will be the person to say my name or mention my name among people who are being abused and trafficked like this. And this comes out at the same time that Puff Daddy is being accused of the same thing too, drugging women and trafficking them. See, you don't have to be in a car to be trafficked nowadays, okay? They can come right to your home and knock you out. You won't even know it. And the only way you know that something is wrong, but you may not put it as that, is that your body feels it. You know what it feels like to have sex. You know what it feels like after you have been penetrated. Especially if you are celibate like me. I have not had sex in a long time. I haven't, did anything with a man. No man, listen, that I gave permission to. Let me make that clearly. I have not done anything like that I have given permission to, and I don't know when. It's been a long time, y'all. I got this. Oh, I forgot one ingredient. I gotta add one ingredient in there, and that's the main ingredient. How am I gonna forget that? Y'all give me a little second here. Main ingredient. But I'm trying to just get y'all to see how that relates kind of to my story that I was saying. But before I go into my story, I need to keep telling her story. I'm not going to rush it either. Let me plug in here. I got to plug my cooker up. This stuff happens for real. Okay, getting back to Gisèle. I'm going to cool it down with my story because, see, as I said, mine is still active. And the traffickers who are doing me is still active. And I don't want to cause any more harm on myself. But I was at the point where I was saying that you can tell when somebody has penetrated you, or at least you feel as if you have been tampered with. But you're not sure because, you're knocked out. You don't know. And you hate to tell anybody because you're not sure. Because again, if you're being drugged and being knocked out, you're going to look foolish like I did. You're going to look foolish. You're going to look schizophrenic and all that once you start freaking out when you realize that somebody's been messing with you the whole time you've been asleep. Well, for Gisèle, she wouldn't have never known because it had became so normal. And with her age being up there in the upper 60s, bladder infections usually, you can have a lot of bladder infections at that age. And, it's passed off as being normal. Because of the age. Because with that age comes, it comes along with the territory of aging. Urinary tract infections. I'm speaking this, but I know next time I have an appointment, they're going to tell me I got one. I already know it because it's part of the program. Even though I don't. But I'm going to be told that. And that's all I'm going to hear about is urinary tract infections. Oh, I got a urinary tract infection. Okay, so with Gisèle. Her husband of 50 years got caught videotaping up under another woman's dress. And when they caught him and confiscated his phone and stuff, that's when they found all the videos named, by the way, of Bruce. They found all those videos of her, and I think it was 50 to 70 guys over the last 10 years who had been raping her. That's why they called it a mass rape. I should have titled this explicit. But I did list it under explicit. So over 50 to 70 guys had raped her. And they had been messing with her daughter the same way. And there were videos of her daughter. I don't know if her daughter was raped, but he did his daughter the same way he did his wife. These men were paying to come in there to have sex with his wife while she was knocked out. He got away with it. Well, so-called the men. Some of the men said they didn't know. They thought it was part of the role they were playing. But I'm going to tell you something. It's a market out here for sex trafficking like that. Cyber sex trafficking is a huge market. People are paying billions of dollars to see this type of abuse happen to women like me, older women, younger men, boys, girls. It don't matter. They are paying money for this. It was, let's see. What was I going to say? Lord, I'm sorry I'm losing train of thought because I'm trying to pack these chicken patties out at the same time. But losing train of thought is just an indication, y'all, for me. When I start losing train of thought like this, it's because I've been underneath that drug, whatever they use to knock me out. It wipes out everything. It wipes out the memory. And for Gisèle, that's why she didn't have no memory of it, because whatever drug they used for her did the same thing to her. It wiped her memory out. And you don't feel it. Now, I'm pretty sure there might have been a time she woke up and then was knocked back out, or when her subconscious mind starts waking up to it, it's going to release a lot of those voices back to her. I'm proud of her, though. She has stood up for herself, and they're in court right now in South France trying these men who did this to her. And you think you know somebody after 50 years of being married to them? She was married to that man 50 years, and he did her like that. And come to find out, he's a serial rapist himself. Let me see, move that around. It is disgusting. But I bring this case on Lovely J Podcast because I want you women to be made aware, you women and men, because I have men who listen to this podcast too, be made aware of this is what's out here. And I know some of you already know because a lot of you take part in it. Maybe not you, but somebody you know that's out here in the drug market, you know, selling drugs and stuff. This is part of that market. This is part of what happens to people who are in that market. There's a market for sex out here. And they don't care how it's distributed as long as they get their nuts off. It's a market for sex out here. And the more torturous it is, the more it pays. The more satanic it is, the more it pays. I've seen a video. Now, I saw a video of me, and that's when I realized that I was not hallucinating. Whoever was doing it to me, they messed around, and I don't know if they intentionally flashed this across my house like a projector thing, if they intentionally did it or if they was unaware that they did it, but whatever they did, they flashed it, and I saw, I can't tell you everything I saw, but I can say I saw me. I was laid on my stomach, and I wear underpads at night, so, you know, over 45, so, you know, anybody that's incontinent, you know what you got on. But anyway, my drawers and stuff were pulled down below my ankles, and I was laying on the bed, and it looked like my legs were tied. My legs were tied. I woke up. For several times, I have had rope marks on my wrist and on my legs. And I woke up and I spent 1 year, 2023 and 2022, I spent that whole time sleeping. I couldn't wake up, y'all. It's been hard. It's hard to stay awake. The side effect of them drugs that they give you is it's hard to stay up. You just lethargic. Just like I've been lethargic all last week. Lethargic. All I could do was just lay in the bed till like 2-3 o'clock in the afternoon. Then I might get a little strength to get up and come get a little something to eat. But I'm just giving y'all some insight as to how these drugs make you. They make you tired. They mess with your mental, your mind frame. You feel something's off. I felt something was off. I just didn't know what until it was confirmed when that video flashed across my house. And I saw it. And I saw it was me laying there, naked. And then this other time I saw where the guy crawled on the floor. He crawled on the floor in my bedroom. and he got under the covers with me. I saw that, and I don't care what nobody say about me, but I haven't been the same since. I haven't been the same, but I have been sane. Now, understand same and sane. SAME, SANE, S and S. I haven't been the same, but I still been sane. Because it was confirmation for me that somebody was doing this. So I have been looking on the internet for years, for the last 3 years, of anybody who going through what I'm going through. Because when I try to tell the cops are telling me that, okay, well, next time you get raped, just go to the hospital. Because I wouldn't have never really thought much about it. But when I woke up and I saw that blood, and I knew I was not having no menstrual, it was a sight to see. Now, I got to be strong for me. That's being strong for me. Now, getting back to Gisèle, because I'm just giving y'all some insight so that y'all know it's not just, on TV that this type of horrendous criminal acts and sadistic acts are going on. But it's going on everywhere. You may be a victim and don't even know it. Wake up and feel like one day you feel real good and the next day you feel like, oh my God, what happened? Are you really tired? Chronic fatigue? I've never been this tired. Even when I was like 560 pounds, I was still active. I wasn't tired like this. Anyways, let's keep going. I'm going to see if I can find some news capture here on YouTube and maybe play some clips of it. Maybe do some commentary on it because they're in court. They're in court right now because of this. And those men are in court too. I'm trying to find something that's latest. I see 5 days ago. The French massive rape trial. Okay, I want to hear what this guy has to say. It says, the name of this YouTube clip is Gisèle Pelicot, a symbol for the world in shifting shame onto perpetrators. Expert says, yes, we need to flip this. Get these perpetrators back in their places, which is in cage or prison.
And recruiting at least 50 strangers to rape his own wife, has admitted his crimes. In the Paris courtroom, 71-year-old Dominique Pelicot begged forgiveness of his family. He said, I'm a rapist like the others in this room. His now ex-wife has waived anonymity to ensure public shaming of all her attackers.
Flanked by her lawyers, Gisèle Pelicot arrives at court. The 72-year-old attending trial as her husband takes the stand following delays due to issues with his health. On Tuesday, Dominique Pelicot admitted to the charges against him in their entirety, adding he was a rapist like all the others in the room. He asked his wife, children and grandchildren to accept his apologies. The 71-year-old said he regretted what he did, asked for forgiveness while acknowledging his actions were unforgivable. Dominique Pelicot is standing trial alongside 50 other men between the ages of 26 and 73. He's accused of orchestrating the rape of his wife by strangers after drugging her over the span of 9 years. Some of the defendants said they believe Gisèle Pelicot was pretending to be asleep and had in fact consented to sex, although that assertion is likely disputed after Tuesday's testimony. Dominique Pelicot's lawyer, meanwhile, says more details about her client will emerge.
He was raped at the Châteauroux Hospital when he was 9 years old. He was present at a gang rape where others wanted him to participate when he was 14 years old. And he witnessed some scenes of sexual violence between his parents that he shouldn't have seen because a 14-year-old kid mustn't see that kind of thing.
While Dominique Pelicot's testimony is expected to continue, his wife has already become a symbol of the struggle against sexual violence in France. Over the weekend, hundreds took to the streets across French cities in solidarity with Gisèle Pelicot.
Donaldo de Souza there. Let's stay with this story and get more analysis. We're joined from Carleton University in Canada by Dr. Umbi Khan, a specialist on the socio-legal construction of...
Okay, so let me pause right there.
Big dental bills can often come as a shock, but there's an affordable...
Let me pause right there because I just want to put this in there. So you see, his defense is that he watched this growing up all his life. He participated in gang rapes and he was, part of, seeing his family, his parents hurt. His mother, done the same way. Y'all gotta excuse me. I don't know what's going on with my throat. Okay, so what I'm saying is that here we have this woman. You hear that? She's 70 years old right now. So if this stuff happened over the course of 10 years, she was in her 60s while they were taking advantage of her. They were raping her this whole time. And then they got the nerve to go and say that she consented to it, even after they saw the woman was knocked out, even after him himself, her husband, told them that he was part of the rapist too. So those men trying to beat those charges, and the husband is clearly saying, yeah, we raped her. That right there. It makes me mad. Because no woman, child, or even a man deserves to go through that. Just because these people have these sick fetishes out here, or they call themselves retaliating against people, nobody deserves to be done like that. It hurts. I'm just, when I saw this case, I was relieved though. Even though as much as I have been through, and I have even seen my own family humiliate and mock me concerning the situation, I still got hope. I still got faith in God. Because it took 10 years for that to come out. And I prayed that I'm here to take the stand just like Gisèle did. I prayed for that moment. I'm waiting for that moment to take that stand just like Gisèle did and defend myself, my body, and my rights. My constitutional rights, my God-given rights. Nobody has a right to, do anything with somebody else's body like that. And Gisèle is just, this case alone is an example. When somebody come and tell you, I've been raped, I've been molested 300 times, sometimes you ought to listen instead of saying, oh, that sounds like too much there, that person lying. No, you don't know what that person has been through. So before you cast judgment, you need to know facts. You need to know that this thing can happen. And nobody doesn't just do this out of pure self-gratification, but people do this not only out of their self-gratification, but they do it for the money. It's a market out here, and our law enforcement needs to get helped. They need to grow up. They need to mature in this type of happenings in small towns like Candor, North Carolina, because it's here, and I got a feeling that they know it's here. They know it's here. Because most of the time when you see mass quantities, people coming in and out like this, and nobody's getting charged with anything, law enforcement knows. The mayor knows. They know what they are part of. I didn't want to believe that many men was taking advantage of me either. So I can just feel the dissociation that she has toward her aggressors and herself. Because when you don't know who it is that's doing something to you, or you're unaware that something is happening to you, and you go around and people are looking at you and you're like, what the world? What did I do wrong? There is a disassociation that happens. You disassociate yourself Y'all, I don't know what's going on with my throat. I don't know. Hold up. Oh, excuse me, y'all. I couldn't even cut the microphone off. I'm sorry. Now, there is a disassociation that happens. And it has to happen. It has to happen for any victim that's ever been traumatized. Disassociation has to happen. You have to become somebody different. Because your mind ain't going to let you go forward like that. You become somebody different because the mind can't take what's happening to it. Even though you're asleep, your body still is aware. Your mind is still aware. Even though you're in your sleep, in your rest. That's like when when my dad was put on, my dad and my uncle, and I had some others that testified to this, about 3 or 4 others that testified when they were put unconscious, and I can testify to it too. When I was put on anesthesia, I woke up to a man saying, "Oh, she got some great titties. They big. She got some great titties." I woke up and I heard a doctor say that, but I never reported that because I didn't know how to take that. I disassociated from that, and I heard, I heard just things pertaining to body parts like that, and I disassociated from it. Matter of fact, this is my first time talking about it. That's my first time. That slipped me up there coming out. But anyway, my dad and a few others had said when they was unconscious, tubes in the throat, that they could hear what everybody was saying. We went into rooms, hospital rooms, and we sung to people who were on ventilators. And they would come back and say, "I heard you singing. I just couldn't wake up and respond back to you." So the whole time that these people are raping, the subconscious mind is still recording. And this may be why he started saying, "Don't come in smelling like smoke. Don't come in with cologne on. Take all your clothes off in the kitchen." This is what Gisèle's husband, now we're back on her. This is what her husband said. He would have the guys to take off all their clothes, and they would have to wash in a certain kind of soap, and their hands could not be cold because it could wake her up, or it could stimulate her to wake up. And I know why he said that. I'm going to tell you why he said that. Because when the victim wakes up, the victim can sense that something's off with her, and the men who have been on her, she can smell them. She can feel them. She can smell their scent of their cologne. She can smell their cigarette smoke. If they were smoking, she could smell it. I told my family several times that I would wake up. I would say, "I smelled the smoke. I know it was a man because I smelled his body." There's one man that comes in here and he stinks so bad. Oh, he stinks. And he's white. I can tell by that scent that he's white. But that joker stinks so bad every time he comes in here. I can tell when he been over me, over top of me, when he done something to me, because I smell it between my legs. I smell it. And it's horrible. Now, I know I put a lot out there just then, but that just goes to show you that our mind is still at work even when we are sleeping, because that's the time our body is supposed to be repairing itself, and our body is making repairs as they are tearing us up on the inside. Our body is working twice as hard. So when you start seeing people with big bellies and things, remember that's because the body is working twice as hard to repair itself from this stress, this cortisol. It's collecting cortisols. It's making cortisol because The stress is so much on the body. The stress from the pills and drugs it takes to knock a person out. Now, still to this day, I don't know how I was getting knocked out. But for Gisèle, how she was getting knocked out was through her food. He was feeding her and things. And, oh, be careful how you let a man feed you. I talked about that yesterday. But he was feeding her. As a man that you know you fuss with all the time and that do not like you, and you know that man don't like you, don't eat nothing from that man. That man will give you, I don't even want to mention it because I don't want it to happen to me. So I had to be careful how I had to be careful how I say certain things, okay? Now, her husband, he had those men do all that so that she wouldn't be able to recognize their smell and scent, if they was to come and be around her. Just imagine waking up not knowing you just had sex. Somebody just had the time of their life while they destroyed yours. For money. For money. It wasn't for his pleasure. Well, it was for his pleasure too. But it was mainly for the money. And he did his his daughter the same way. She didn't go through what her mama went through, but, she did catch part of the filming. Let's go ahead and hear some more of this clip that I have here.
And representations of hardcore eroticism. Thank you for being with us. And I'm interested to hear what you've got to think about this case. Looking at the case as a layman, I just find it sick. What is your take on what we're seeing playing out in the court now?
I mean, it's very shocking because it's so extreme, and yet it's not shocking because there's a history of men, that is husbands, own their wives. And so before the law changed, for example, marital rape wasn't a crime. And so this idea that a man would have a right to have sex with his wife whenever she wanted to, and even lend her out the way he would lend a car because he owns her in essence as her wife, that is part of the history, I think, that is the ideology underneath this horrible crime.
Yeah, I'm totally shocked by the whole thing, and I can't buy into anything you've just said at all. I'm not doubting what you're saying, Doctor. I'm not doubting what you're saying, but the whole thing seems repugnant to me. The defense tried to use the argument that the husband wasn't raping the wife, i.e., you can't rape within marriage. I mean, clearly that is almost Stone Age thinking, isn't it?
Well, I wish it was Stone Age, but the law changed in the 80s and 90s in Canada and France. So it's really not that long ago. And I think the problem is that even though the law changes, people still have that in their mind. And then you have the myth of, well, if she didn't say no, if she didn't, resist, then it's fine. She was unconscious. He says it wasn't as traumatic because she's not conscious for the assaults. So I feel like there's a lot of self-serving myths.
Okay, let me stop right there. So the saying was that she didn't feel as much of the trauma because she was unconscious. And that's what I mean by the disassociation, because you can't, it's probably hard for her really to associate herself with that happening and not really having no feeling to it, not having no face to it. The only thing that really helped this case really was the fact that it was recorded. If it had not been recorded, those men would be scotch-free right now. They would be free because they couldn't go by, just saying, hey, this is what happened to me. She didn't know. All these years, she didn't know until she saw herself on the tapes. Now, I'm not sure. I think I read somewhere she didn't watch the tapes, though. So, until she was told, I'm not sure, but maybe we'll find out. I don't know. I don't think she watched all those tapes of those men doing that to her. And that's why there's no connection there, And that's where the disassociation kicks in. And with her being disassociated to what's, she's aware and mindful of what's going on. And at the same time, the mental process of this has not fully kicked in. It's been too early. It hasn't fully kicked in yet. And you don't know when it will kick in. Because right now, if she's in that state she's able to make decisions. She's up, she's aware, she's alert, but she's still disassociated. Okay.
That perpetrators tell themselves, which make it seem justifiable what they do.
Indeed, and that brings us to those who took part, because clearly Mr. Pelicot has done this for his own gratification, whatever that might be. I can't begin to comprehend. But there have been other men who came and took part in this, and some say they didn't know, but the chances are they did know what was going on. That's conjecture from my part. But what would motivate someone to get involved in this kind of grubbery, this kind of horrific crime?
Yeah, that's a great question. The men who engaged seem to look to the husband as the person to give consent. So they get their vicarious consent through the husband. And then I think that there is a kind of pleasure in this group activity. I think it's a part of the interaction, the secrecy, and the unconsciousness becomes part of the kind of perverse pleasure that they're getting from these attacks.
I can't imagine what kind of excuses psychologically they're going to come up with as to why they were compelled to do what they did. And we've heard a little from the lawyer of Dominique Pelicot, the 71-year-old who's now admitted being a rapist, that admitted what he's done. And he's gone on his hands and knees almost asking for forgiveness. A bit late, some might say. The lawyer making excuses as to why he might have turned out like this. But the fact is that no matter what happens to a person, you still have a choice to make. And he chose to do this. I think people just can't understand that he chose to do what he did.
Mm-hmm. It's, you're asking a question about human nature, right? He's saying, I wasn't born this way. It's because of trauma. He uses the word addiction to talk about his behavior. So he's trying to frame his behavior within the discourse of mental health and post-traumatic. But most of us believe actually, despite all of that, many people have trauma. They make a choice to, get better or do something else. And so, it's kind of the mystery of kind of human psychology is, does he make this choice, or is he just this product of this, terrible childhood experiences, allegedly, that his lawyers want us to believe. And I think it's a bit hard for people to swallow that, as for you and for many of us. At the end of the day, he's saying sorry after he got caught.
The victim has been incredibly brave in waiving anonymity in order to kind of put the shame onto those who committed the offences, which is an incredibly brave thing for her to do.
Oh, it's so brave, and people don't realize how new that is, right? Before, if a woman got raped, it was her fault. She must have done something, right? Or she's exaggerating, or she secretly enjoyed it, right? Which is all of the excuses, all of the rape myths that people try to perpetuate. And the idea that a victim should be shamed, right? That is the patriarchal ideology from the past. And she is so bravely showing her face. And really, she has become a symbol for the world, not just France, in shifting that shame onto the perpetrators.
People do different things to get their gratification. The key issue is, of course, it has to be with consent among consenting adults, and people need to agree what happens. None of that was happening, what was taking place in southern France.
That's right. And I think it's important for people to remember, sex games that are consensual, where you get the direct consent from all of the parties, is wonderful. And people will consent to fantasies that would involve pretend force or pretend non-consent. And there's nothing wrong with that. But that is not at all what was happening here. This is an assault with zero consent. And in fact, it can have even worse because he was gaslighting her. She was, waking up with these symptoms of these major health problems, and he's not telling her the real reason is because she's being continually assaulted. And so I really think it's important to kind of separate consensual sexual interactions that can be alternative versus what's happening here, which is a clear violation of her bodily autonomy.
Dr. Khan, there are so many other questions I'd like to ask you, but sadly time has run out. Thank you for your time with us here and sharing your analysis of what is an absolutely horrific case. And of course, that case continues at court in Paris. Dr. Khan of Carleton University, specialist on the social legal construction of deviant sexuality. Thank you for joining us and sharing your time with us.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Okay, y'all. So we're going to give the credit to this video. It's on French, 24 English. And the YouTube video name is Gisèle Pelicot, a symbol for the world in shifting shame onto perpetrators, experts say. Okay. So we just heard it right there that he's trying to say that this thing is psychological. Let me tell you something. It is psychological. And at the same time, it's just like I've always said, that a person can be mentally ill, but they still can make a choice either to do right or do bad. You do right or either you do wrong. And the choice is still theirs. There are some cases where some people cannot, make clear, sane choices. But this man had a choice to do the right thing, not assault his wife in the first place. Now, she woke up with all the, she had the symptoms something was going on. Do y'all know right now, I barely can walk? How many times I have been in the position where I barely can walk because I've been subjected under whatever this is, whatever this organization is, this, leading this thing that's going on. Barely can walk. Health just declined just like that. And these last 3 years, my health went down. My weight came up. And what we do know is about people who have been sexually assaulted, they do tend to gain a lot of weight. Or either they can lose a lot of weight. It can go either way once they have been assaulted. Y'all, I gained 134 pounds. 134 pounds since this thing has started with me. Since 2022, I've gained 134 pounds. I'm glad Gisèle stood up for us because she stood up for all women who have ever been drugged and raped. She stood up for us. And I'm just glad that something is being done about it and that he's not getting away with it. And even though it took 10 years for this thing to come to the light, it's not going to take 10 years for yours to come to the light nor mine. It's not, I prophesy, it's not going to take 10 years for what's being done to you, your children, or the people in your family or mine. It's not going to take 10 years. It's not going to take 10 years. It's going to come to the light sooner than later. It's coming because people don't know how to hold water. And on top of that, too many people are going to start going through the same issues. And once it becomes an epidemic, the same way we see in the schoolhouse, how these kids are not learning, is the same thing that we're going to see. Now, if you go to my Jamie Talk show, which is where I should have probably put this at, you're going to see where I talk about how these teachers are the reason why these kids are not learning, because they will not teach them. They know what they need to learn, but it's only certain kids that they are told to teach. The other kids are through and left behind. The other kids are ridiculed and mocked and left behind. Why? Because they're part of an organization that does not benefit certain students of a certain class. Or if their parents' names is on a list, on that black list, your kids ain't going to get taught the way you think. Your kids are going to be assaulted at school the same way you were assaulted at home. And I'm careful how I'm saying this because many people don't even realize that they are being sexually assaulted in their sleep right in this town. And this thing is carried out by big people. They're only big in name and in numbers because once they recruit the public to join in against harassing you, that's what gives them the numbers. They got the money, they got the numbers, but one thing they don't have is God on their side. We got God on our side. Those of us who still stand for holiness and righteousness, we got God on our side. And I do believe that this thing, it's going to come out how they've been recording us 24/7. How they have been recording the sexual assaults that they do to people like me. It's going to come out. It's going to come out. And when it comes out, we can't be afraid to stand up for ourselves. Because we all we got. Along with God. We got God, and that's more than anything. But those of us that are going through this, we know the humiliation that we're being put through. We're being put through in public and behind closed doors. And now that's something I would like to know. And I would like to know more into Gisèle's background. Like, how was she treated when she went in public? Was she looked at like, I just finished messing with you and you don't even know it? I mean, because I have walked in certain stores or been to certain places just sitting in the parking lot, and guys was walking up and they were taking their wallets out and grabbing at their money and aiming it toward me. And I have seen some of them people die, so God be on it. But really, this one man, he was trying to prove to me how strong he was. I'm not lying. So whatever happens, I know the communities have to know. Because those men were of different ages, from different areas. They had to brag and tell somebody they were doing it. But yeah, they're in court for this now. So don't think that when you hear somebody saying, hey, look, I feel like somebody been tampering with me, messing with me while I've been asleep. I feel like I've been drugged. I've been hollering this for almost 3 years now. And my health has been declining. And this story was so relatable. I want to see what else they got here. Let's see. I was trying to find some updated.
If you've never cashed a 42,106.
I was trying to find some updated information. Now that is up to date though. But something from today.
Europe, a woman taking the stand testifying today against her ex-husband.
Oh, she testified today.
She did not have to go public, but she chose to. Tom Soufi Burridge in France tonight.
This is ABC News.
Tonight, France rallying around this woman, Gisèle Pelicot, whose husband of 50 years is charged with committing horrific crimes against her for nearly a decade.
Dang, I already played that one. My bad. I thought I was getting one that hadn't been played. Well, they're in court for it. I got to see how this turns out because this man, her husband, admitted to what he did, and those other guys are in there. Everybody all of a sudden trying to play psychological. You want psychological while you was raping that woman? While you were torturing that woman? She could not give consent. This is not the 20s and the 30s. We're in the year of 2024 where women don't have to take that mess no more. She didn't give consent. And then for that to be her husband to just give her out like that, man, marriage is scary these days. It's scary in 2024 to be married to a madman. It's scary, and you don't never know who is like this. She didn't have no idea that man was like that. But that man, oh, gosh. I want to know what, just walking around was like for her, because with me, I walk around and I can tell when, people are being funny or treating me different. It comes out. Here in the United States. Now, that's France over there. Okay, so here's some questions that you might want to know. Let's see if I can find some things to read to you. Dominique Pelicot, 71, was caught upskirting, filming under the clothing of several women at a supermarket when Natalie was warned by a security guard that the man had been following her. That's how he got caught. After he was caught, taking the photos, police searched Pelicot's computer and found a photo titled "A Bruises" on a related USB drive. I'm praying right now that, and I know this gonna sound like, oh, that girl's stupid to some of y'all, but I'm praying my name in my videos that somebody took of me, those videos that somebody took of me, I'm praying that it come to the light, that it surfaced, that it starts showing up all over the internet, and somebody go and say, now I know that girl did not give permission for that. That's what I'm praying, that it starts surfacing like the way they found out about this, that the USB, somebody got to get caught for this. Somebody got to go down for it. Okay, let's see. Let me finish reading. It was titled "A Bruises." In it, they discovered thousands of photos and videos of Pelicot and other men raping his wife while she was unconscious. My God. It's still sad. The Los Angeles Times is saying shocking rape trial highlights the systematic struggles French sexual abuse victims face. You're talking about there, you ought to try here in North Carolina. This mess is here in North Carolina, and this is where I'm at, a small town, Candor. It's so many immigrants came in to pull together what this town has commissioned. What this town is standing for right now is not a town of, it's nothing to be proud of here. Because we have a bunch of politicians who keep picking on the smaller poor people and just pushing us around. Meanwhile, trying to make themselves look good to the businesses and any other establishments that we need around here. Eventually, though, it's all going to come to the light. I'm believing just as sure as they can praise you for putting a gym floor in, I'm believing that it's going to be something that's going to blow up and just release everything that's going on here. Because officials know, town officials know what go on in their town. They have a way of seeing everything that happens in this small town. And those, what's the names? Those, what do you call it? Those drones that come over. Those drones don't only come over and monitor everything you do inside your house because they can see right through your house. But they also have these radiation beams that they can shoot down in between those lasers and damage you. They can hurt you. They can knock you out with those. It's just a certain sound. Let me tell you. Be naive if you want to, but it's a certain sound that they can play in your ear or give you a certain vibration that can knock your heart off rhythm, or it can knock you out. I've been knocked out before by the vibration. So, yeah. Let's see. The trial of dozens of men accused of raping an unconscious woman whose husband repeatedly drugged her over the course of nearly a decade has highlighted the difficulties that sexual violence victims can face in France. Every time I read that, I get pissed off because I remember saying I need to speak to the sheriff. And I only decided to go to the sheriff after I had told one of the therapists. I said, look, this is what happened to me last night. I woke up like this. I started talking to them and they was like, okay, well, maybe you should report it. That's a crime. And I went to go report it to the sheriff, and the sheriff never spoke with me, but his secretary told me, well, why don't you just go to the hospital next time it happens? I mean, she brushed me off like, don't come up here and fill out. I said, well, can I fill out a report? No, just go to the hospital next time it happens. She brushed me off like that right here in Montgomery County, North Carolina. At this point, there's not really, because everybody's in everybody's pocket. I go to the hospital, I go to the doctor, I go to the therapist like they said, and still I'm the one made to look bad. So I got victimized and I got shamed, and yes, I did for a long time. I just stopped talking about things and I left it alone. But this case has given me hope. Dominique Pelicot, 71, and his 50 co-defendants. God, 50. I don't know how many. I woke up one day and I saw so many people. It had to be about 25, maybe more, was around my house. I was surrounded. That's the scariest thing to think about, how you can be home minding your own business and you wake up and you're surrounded. I mean, house was surrounded. And it was like the more I was telling my siblings, I was like, the more I tell them, the more things keep happening worse. So I stopped talking to them about things that were going on. Because the more I did speak with them, the worse things were getting for me. So it was just better I just not even say nothing to them. Why that was, I don't know. I'm not saying they had anything to do with anything. I'm just saying it was like the more I spoke with them, the worse things got. But I did wake up and see anywhere from about 25 to 30 people were surrounded around here. It was a lot of people. And they were all walking around as if they owned this property. And I just didn't get it. I couldn't put my head around what was happening. That was something I kept to myself till now. Okay, anyway, Dominique Pelicot, 71, and his 50 defendants face up to 20 years. But just thinking on that, what if those were the 30 that did something to me? I went to see my gynecologist, and all of a sudden she says she's resigning. She says she can't see me no more. Told me don't call back down to the center for another year. I wondered, does that have something to do with this? I mean, she in the organization too? Anyway, if they're convicted at a trial that has shocked the world and revealed the French public, Pelicot tearfully acknowledged in court that he's guilty. Okay, we get that part. We know he's guilty. This trial is the trial of our society. 27-year-old Nathan Paris, who works in a youth shelter, said this week outside a Vivian courthouse. Paris, a victim of sexual violence himself, has made the trip from Marsville on several occasions since the trial began. I wish I could be there too. I wish I could. Okay, let me keep reading. Magali Lafourcade, I can't pronounce these names, y'all. They are in France. A judge and general secretary of the National Consultative Commission of Human Rights, who is involved in the trial, said the fight against sexual violence in France has slightly improved since the start of the Me Too movement, which has brought down some of France's most well-known actors and film directors, among other notables. Women have always talked, but their voices are now being heard more. She said, for a very long time, we saw the rape and killing of women by men as something that pertained to private sphere. We thought we should not interfere with people's private lives, Lafourcade said. There has been a clear change or revolution even with this perception since Me Too, she added. Civic groups have lobbied hard in recent years so that judges, politicians, and the media understand that sexual violence is not just a private affair, but also a social, political and financial one. French President Emmanuel has promised to prioritize gender equality and combat violence against women. Okay, that's a lot of... You have to go find more articles to read on your own. But anyways, that's what I wanted to get to. Now let me get to frying my chicken, because I did not... I had it on, but I want y'all to be able to hear what I was saying. I know that it's gonna happen. I'm gonna keep saying, I'm gonna keep on prophesying over that thing, speaking life to it, that it's gonna come to pass. And I'm gonna be one of the most aggressive women. I'm gonna be one of the most aggressive speakers when it comes down to talking about sexual violence and what it does to a person. You don't know how high your legs can go, or how wide they can spread, how deep or how much your body can take, until you wake up one day and you know that's what happened. Older women are getting taken advantage of. It's a market for those in their 80s and 90s. It's some sick lunatics out here, some sick freaks out here who think old women deserve to be done like that. I pray every day for my mothers, because I know the sickness that's out here, and it makes me wonder if they're doing me like this, what are they doing to them? Because we all in the same neighborhood. And it seems like whatever goes on with one happens with all of us. It just makes me wonder, because when you're on an organization list, you know, it's too many people to try to give different assignments to each person. So everybody kind of goes through the same thing. It'll come out sooner or later. It will. Until then, y'all, I'm going to get off of here and go ahead and cook me something to eat. I haven't ate today, and it's already almost 4 o'clock. I couldn't eat. I wasn't hungry. Maybe I'll come back on and do the cooking. Since we spend a lot of time on this, and I just hope this wakes somebody's eyes up to stop judging people like me. You don't know what I've been through. I don't know what you've been through. But stop assuming that everything I say is a lie, or because I'm psychologically messed up. I should be psychologically tore up from the floor up, and there are areas of me that are. But it's God's grace and mercy that keeps me sane. It's the love that drives fear out, that keeps me sane. To say I don't want this to happen to not even my enemy. I don't want them to have to go through what I'm going through. That's what keeps me sane. On that note, I'm going to go ahead and get off of here. But thanks for listening to Lovely J Podcast with Miss Coco. I might come back on and cook with y'all. I don't know. Maybe. But y'all look into that and study about it, and let me know what you think on the comments in the chat here. Peace, love, and happiness.